Comic Book Savant Extra, Episode 14. Welcome back to the Comic Book Savant. This is Comic Book Savant Extra. This is the extra podcast that I like to do on the side from the original content that I offer on the podcast feed that I do. That I talk about personal things and I talk about different things that I don't cover on the main shows here on the side. Before I get into anything in this episode, I want to dedicate this episode to a creator that I found on YouTube that this was prolific in his life, that passed recently, that did a lot of things in the comic book community that had recently that I came across probably within the past at least 2 to 3 years. And I was watching him on YouTube over on Collider Video. They have a YouTube channel and they did a show called Collider Heroes. And he was the host of that show. His name was John Schnepp. I followed him through social media, after finding that show and watching it. And he had a heart attack and ended up passing away in the middle of Comic-Con last weekend. And I just wanted to dedicate this episode to him. The one thing I learned from him in the years watching him doing that show and building that show up from the ground up was passion. One thing I struggled with throughout my going on 13 years of being a podcaster is what were the lines, and being behind a microphone and talking to a group of people that you don't know. How much do you share personally? How far do you go? Sharing your personal life mixed within your passion. And he was just fearless in that aspect of how he went about being a sweaty. He called, all comic book fans sweaties just because, they're how passionate they were about it. It can make people uncomfortable, like someone, that real sweaty and got wet spots in their arms. So he called fans sweaties, and he was known as the king of the sweaties. And I just wanted to do something to show how much he kind of impacted me, because seeing how passionate he was and how fearless he was on camera, expressing his love for just comic books, artwork, everything in the comic book industry and everything fandom. He had worked on things like Space Ghost Coast to Coast. He directed, produced Aqua Teen Hunger Force. He directed a few episodes of the motion comic they did for Black Panther. He did so many different things way before I ever found him on Collider on this little show that became a huge show, which is probably one of their most popular shows on that YouTube network with Collider Heroes. And another thing that I always appreciated is how he expanded before. And I watched the Collider Network because I'm a huge movie fan as much as comic fan, and they do movie news and everything like that. And one thing that I noticed that he always spearheaded, no matter what race, color, or creed you were, he was always, if you were passionate about comics or comic book movies, you had a place on that show. And he had brought in, African Americans on the show. He brought in a lot of females on the show that you didn't see elsewhere on the network or anywhere else on YouTube. Very small pockets of these huge fans that just because they were a different color, a different race, different sex, that they still were just as important as, a white male comic fan. And, he was... John was in his 50s, so John was the stereotypical middle-aged older white male, and because of that he knew in the world that it was a discrepancy and it needed more representation, so he worked hard to bring that representation on the show, which made it so much more balanced. It made it so much more meaningful to see. When I talk about from time to time, the reason why I started this was because I felt like, as a African American male in America, it was a stereotype surrounded by, not from society. I'm just going to say from society, not just from whites, blacks, because it isn't even a discrimination, or it was not acceptable 13 years ago when I started this to be a black man and be a comic book fan and express that. When I started, Derek was the only person that I could find in doing multiple searches on the internet that was a black man doing a podcast about comic books. And that inspired me to get behind a mic and show that it could be more, and we can give more voices. And just like how passionate he was, I could be, and others could be. And I hope in my heart that in the time that I've done this, that I've had that same effect that John had on people, to inspire people to know they can do this. It's I'm sorry for that. I kind of just lost it there for a second, but like I said, I hope that, like him, that I've been able to not just entertain but inspire and show by me doing what I do that anyone could do it, and that you guys have went out and created or participated in a part of a bigger community of just comic book fandom. That's, as time has gone on and the longer I've done it, my focus has changed because the world has changed, and a big focus of everything that I'm doing, just between the audio podcast, where I want to take the whole brand of Comic Book Savant, because I'm starting to look at it more as a brand, as I'm trying to expand out to YouTube, is to not just entertain, but to educate as much as I can in anything comic book related, and hope that I can, help as you guys being as fans, and still open, and I need to learn from you guys. I learn every day when I communicate with you guys, like, more about what new books are hot, because I can't read anything. I rely on you guys, and I will post, like, in the Facebook group, like, what are books that you're reading? So, I'll pick up an issue and try it, or I'll pick up a trade and try it, and if I like it, it's something I'm going to definitely talk about and let you guys know. But I just, again, I do apologize for me getting emotional. But again, like I said, that's the one thing that I take away from Schnepp, is just like, the passion. And I think a lot of seeing him, being so fearless has helped me open up more as a creator and take a little bit more risk on subjects that I talk about, being a little more daring and showing other parts of myself and my personality. I remember I used to take so personally when I used to see YouTube comments, iTunes comments about the podcast, and they're like, he's good, but he's robotic, and I was kind of stiff and stern. And I think over time I've loosened up as I've gotten more comfortable, and have shown more my real personality, and not being so clinical, but being more open. And that's hard, and sometimes it takes a while to find that balance and what's right in that. And hopefully I have found that. I feel like I'm more at ease going into episodes, recording episodes, and coming out, that I'm in a better place and a better space to be hopefully the best person that I can be when it comes to doing this content for you guys. With all that out of the way, let's talk about the DC Universe streaming service. I've been hype about this for a while. You guys know I talk a lot about comics in the digital space, in the digital realm. And, a lot of what I do as far as how I buy and consume my comics personally are primarily through digital means, through services like Comixology. I've used Marvel Unlimited a few times. I actually have a video coming up on the YouTube channel. It probably will be out sometime in August because I'm that far ahead kind of on content there, where I do a comparison. I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison of Comixology Unlimited versus Marvel Unlimited that I have coming up. But now DC Comics has, through their hat in the ring when it comes to a digital service, but it's a little bit different. So if you haven't heard of DC Universe already, this is basically going to be a one-stop shop of everything like DC comics related, not just digital, comics digitally. We got old classic films and TV series, and we also have DC original programming as well. That you'll have access to the DC community online as a part of the service, as well as like exclusive deals for comics, memorabilia, all that integrated into this one service and program. Now, I know you're wondering, I'm wondering, how much is it going to cost? That was the biggest mystery behind the service. They had been doing little updates, and they've rolled out the website for DC Universe over the past few months leading into Comic-Con last week. And what they finally announced with the pricing, it's going to be $7.99 monthly and $74.99 yearly. And I think if you sign up now, they had like a pre-order period. I don't know if it's still going on now or it's only during the week of Comic-Con, because they even had a DC Universe experience, a section, like a whole physical thing that they had going on there, and then they had like tablets set up with the app to kind of show off, and people could have hands off with it if they decided to pre-order the service. One thing that they're offering, and I had to dig this up from a lot of different places, because I feel like this is the biggest problem with DC sometimes. They're really great, and I've done podcasts based on where, I would do rehashes of when they rolled out something new, like a new line or a new initiative. They would have a panel on it. They would post it online. You could go through it tooth and nail. You could get all the information you wanted on that. I really wish, because the information had been so segmented when it came to DC Universe, that I feel like that could have been so much more helpful, because I think it's more interest in the service than what they want to believe. And I feel like how it's being handled, maybe this is being more handled in the background by Warner Brothers more so than DC, because DC normally is way better in getting out information about something that they do than what they've done with this. All the information has been spotty at best. And this is coming from me signing up as a press member and getting press junkets or updates from them directly about the service. There was always something else missing that I heard somewhere else, or I heard somewhere else online, or I read an article from another, website that gave a little bit more. I never got 100% information directly from them, which makes it frustrating as me being a podcaster / recorder or what have you, to relate information to you guys to do it properly, because I always felt like I was not always in the know. So before I did this episode, I wanted to dig down a little deeper. I Googled the heck out of it. I read a lot of stuff to kind of pinpoint so I can give you guys the best idea what is encompassed in the service. Now, what they're saying at launch, what platforms this will be available on. You're going to have it available on iOS and Android, so you'll be able to have it on your phones. You'll have it on Roku smart devices, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Android TV. So it covers all like the smart set-top boxes as well as your phones as well. And it should be compatible on Mac as well as PC as well for on the web browser. And they do the DC Universe site is up and running. Also, I want to give a shout out to Heath over at Serial at Midnight. He did a video recently about the DC Universe service as well, his perspective on it. So if you go over to YouTube to Serial at Midnight, do a search for that, you should be able to find Heath's video. I always have the links. If you go to comicbooksavant.com, you go to my links, you'll see I have a link to his website as well as his YouTube channel. But this is a video he did on his YouTube channel. But he has a website as well that he writes articles on as well. But this is something he covered in a video on his YouTube channel. So definitely, if you have a moment, check it out on that as well, because he gives his thoughts, and it kind of differs from mine because he's more physical media where I'm more digital media. So you get a perspective from that. From that side of it. So I highly recommend checking out that video as well as listening to this podcast. So some of the movies that they've announced at this point, and it's a very fluid situation because they said they're currently doing a lot of negotiations to bolster the roster of content they have. But this is all the stuff I'm listing here are the stuff that they've announced so far that they have. But they said more stuff might come before the service officially launches. I think they're going to have a beta. I think this is the beta is in August, and then the service I think is supposed to launch sometime in September, but they haven't given a specific date yet. So the service is going to be launching relatively soon. Some of the movies that they have announced, they've announced they're going to have Superman 1 through 4. So we got Superman the movie, Superman 2, Superman 3, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, all the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. Then also they're going to have the Nolan trilogy of Batman movies, which is Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises. And then they also have announced they're going to have Constantine, the 2014 Keanu Reeves Constantine movie, on the service as well. As far as animated movies, they've announced, and this is in no particular order, they've announced Justice League, The Flashpoint Paradox, Green Lantern First Flight, Wonder Woman, Batman Ninja, which is relatively a recent movie that just came out, Batman Year One, Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker, All-Star Superman, Batman Gotham by Gaslight, which I did a review on, I think on the YouTube channel not too long ago, Justice League Doom, Batman versus Robin, Justice League versus the Teen Titans, and Superman Doomsday. So they're going to have a nice variety of the animated DC animated universe as far as the films on there as well, which is kind of cool. Then as far as TV shows, they got a mix of all different shows here. So some are animated, some are live action, and everywhere in between. So some of the TV shows they've announced, they're going to have Batman the Animated Series on there, and it's going to be remastered to HD because they're prepping for that to be released on Blu-ray, I think in like October. So that's going to be up there in high def. They have the 1977 Wonder Woman with Linda Carter. They're going to have that show on there. They're going to have the Birds of Prey live action show they did some years ago. The original Teen Titans cartoon, not Teen Titans Go, but the original Teen Titans cartoon that everybody loves. Lois and Clark, the old Super Friends cartoons that I grew up on in the late 70s and early to mid 80s. The Legion of Superheroes cartoon they did back in, I think, the early 2000s. The Flash, not the current Flash, but the 1990 Flash. They're going to have that live action television show on there. They're going to have Static Shock, Superboy, Batman Beyond, Batman Bold and the Brave, Justice League, and Justice League Unlimited. They're going to have those up-res and high def as well. They're doing that with a lot with the older content, older television shows, and older movies as well. As far as original programming, the shows that they have talked about and discussed, and we got a trailer during Comic-Con for Titans. So they have Titans. They're going to be doing a Doom Patrol show. They have a Swamp Thing show. All three of these are live action shows. Stargirl was just announced during Comic-Con. Jeff Johns is showrunner for that. And I believe that's going to be a live action show as well. Then they got a Harley Quinn show that's going to be an animated series, and Young Justice. They're bringing Young Justice back, Young Justice Outsiders. And they showed a trailer for that as well during Comic-Con, which looks phenomenal. If you've ever watched the Young Justice cartoon, it was a really great series that got canceled too soon. People petitioned, and talked about it for so long, for so many years. And then it got on Netflix, and people, just really was upping it. And they, I guess DC finally heard it and responded, and they knew the streaming service was coming on, so they decided to revive the show because they knew the fans wanted it, and it's going to be a big seller. The two, cornerstones of pushing this new thing, this new service of DC Universe, they've really highlighted a lot of Young Justice because fans wanted it back, and this whole Titans show. They're banking a lot on that, as that's selling a lot of subscriptions to the service. It's a wild blend of things that they're offering, and they're going to have comics. They're going to have kind of like curated comics. They never really pinned down. They said like a 2,000 to 3,000 like rotating library of comics that they're going to pull from every they're the longest running publisher of comics with like 80 years. They just won an award or got awarded the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest comic in publication with Action Comics 1000. They were presented with the Guinness Book of World Records award for that during Comic-Con. So they're going to be pulling from all different eras, like related to the content that's going to be on the channel. So like I'm assuming when Titans launch, they're going to have some of the, Perez, Marv Wolfman classic stuff that is influencing the shows, and like when Swamp Thing, they're going to spotlight that. So it's going to be a rotating, curated list of comics. I don't, and here's the thing with the service. It seems to me it's like kind of all over the place. I think it's kind of cool, but if you're really a fan of the movies, you probably already own the movies. I know, like, I already own the Nolan trilogy of movies, and I never was a huge fan of the Superman movies. So maybe, if any, maybe like Superman 2 would be one I would watch. The other ones I wouldn't watch. The Constantine movie's kind of cool. I haven't seen it in years. I kind of dug it, but I never read Constantine, the comic book. A lot of people said that were big fans of Constantine comic book, said that movie was an abomination. I thought it was cool for what it was, but I never read the source material to know that if it was rubbish or not. So it's wide open on that. Like, do you want to pay like $8 a month for a service to get access to this stuff? Because I feel like certain things with the content that's not comic books, if you're a huge fan of, you're already going to own this stuff. So to pay $8 a month to get access to some of this stuff, and it's going to take a while, it seems, for them to build up. They're building this from the ground up, so it's going to be very limited. So, like, if there's only this many movies and television shows, it's like, I don't know. I really don't know. And then, with the comics, they only have 2,000 to 3,000. When I look at Comixology Unlimited, they're constantly adding comics, like, every, like, sometimes more than once a week to their library, and they've had their service going for a couple of years now. Marvel Unlimited has like 20,000 or something like that comics like available through that service. It's like a staggering amount. So it's kind of over 20,000 digital comics on Marvel Unlimited, and it has to be at least half that on Comixology Unlimited versus Marvel Unlimited, and then you only got 2,000 to 3,000 and they're going to be rotating, and you're paying that a month. I don't know how much this hits the mark. I'm intrigued by the service because I got press access and got like the media kit and all that from them, the press kit and the press stuff they sent out. I don't know if, like, when the beta comes, because I'm a podcaster or whatever, will they give free access or whatever? I asked about it. I don't know if they're going to grant it to me, or I have to wait till the service officially launches and then to sign up for a month and to check it out. So I'll do a further review when it gets closer to the time for it to be, be released, to kind of, give you a firsthand accounting of if it's something that you might want to go into. Now, something that they're doing differently when it comes to the comic reader built into the program is they're going to have a feature that's different. They're going to have all the features that you're used to if you read comics digitally on Marvel Unlimited or Comixology. Far as how you can do panel to panel or flipping the pages. They can have a feature called autoplay, which basically allows it to cycle panel to panel on a timed interval, so you can kind of watch the comic as you're kind of reading. I don't know if that's something I need, but it's something they're offering. I mean, it might be cool. I don't know. I'm cool with just flipping the pages as I read it myself. I don't, that's kind of freaky to me, because I feel like what if I nod or something? It'll just go through the comic and I miss something. If I'm mainly flipping the pages, when I'm done reading it, I'm done reading it. Not it flashing too quick if I nod, or if I got up to run to the bathroom or something, I forgot to pause. Like, it's going to go through the whole comic. That's just kind of weird to me. That's something that they're trying to say. They're trying to offer something different. Like I said, it just seems overall that the service is all over the place, that it was so hard to find all the information related to the service. Also kind of bothered me, because it feels like they're trying to hide something. Because normally they're so upfront about, this is our new initiative with the comics, this is what we're doing. But this has been, like, I had to really dig, like I said, to get all this information, because at one point I only heard that it was like the Superman movies and the Batman movies, and I heard Constantine, and they're adding more stuff. Like, Stargirl was not originally announced as original show. Jeff Johns did an interview during Comic-Con. Boom, we're doing this show. It's going to be on the net, on DC Universe also. Wow, this first time hearing about it. Some of these TV shows, I knew some were on here. Others, through the research, I found out more. So it's been really tough to nail all the details down. This was the most comprehensive information that I could find, and I still feel like, after reading like 4 or 5 different articles and watching different videos and stuff, I still feel like, because they said that the situation is so fluid and they're still working to add even more content, I guess to bolster is cash before launch, that is going to be even more stuff to come. Only time will definitely tell on that. But we'll see as time comes. Like I said, it's probably going to launch sometime in September, but we don't have an official date. But they did say it was going to be a beta offering of the service in August. I signed up, and then I asked the rep that I've been in contact with via email if I could get in on the beta. So like I said, hopefully I can get in for that beta, and I can, into launch, I can, give it the thumbs up or thumbs down for you guys if it's going to be something that's worth your money. But if you want access to these original shows, and these older television shows or even movies, if you don't own them, I mean, it could be worth it. I don't think $8 is like breaking the bank. For me, the comic book part interests me till they said it's going to be like a curated list of it. I thought, through this service it would be something, since they refuse to be a part of like Comixology Unlimited and other services, that maybe this would be where I could, get that fixed, because, Comixology Unlimited is such a good deal, because it's like, with tax for me, it's like $6.50 a month. That's the price of like just over one comic nowadays. You know what I'm saying? So like, and I get access to so many for that amount. Where here, this is kind of the problem I see with Marvel Unlimited, is that, you pay, I think it's like $9.99 a month, but shoot, you got access to 20,000 plus comics, but they're all Marvel. There's nothing else. You got to just be a diehard Marvel fan. For here, it's like, is $8 a month with all the extra odds and ends with the television shows and the original content and all that kind of stuff, and you get comics, though it's not as big of a comics backlog that I would like. Is it worth it for a comics fan? I definitely feel like the verdict is still out. Because we have to get our hands on the service to see how it all flows together, how the user experience is. Is it something worth the money? Because more and more streaming services are coming out, and we got to think too. Like I'm a cord cutter. I use I have like the highest speed internet I can get for home because of the podcasting and everything else I do. Then I have like Apple TVs, and I use DirecTV Now. I buy movies digitally, just like I buy my comics digitally. I'm a cord cutter, and it helped save a tremendous amount of money. But then with all these streaming services, you got Netflix. You got to have a Netflix. I have DirecTV Now, which is a service for my cable TV. Now I don't have Hulu, but then it's like, if you get DC, then you got the Disney service that's coming early next year. Everybody's breaking out with their own streaming services. So is this value for just the DC universe going to be worth $8 a month compared to, we know Disney is coming, and they're pulling pretty much all their content off of Netflix. So if you want access to anything Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, Muppets, Indiana Jones, like, you're going to have to go to the Disney service. So, like, that's a must-have service whenever that rolls out, and we don't know how much that's going to be. I think this is relatively reasonably priced. Would I have liked to see this be more like $6.99 than $7.99? I think I would have been more like, yeah, for sure, for $6.99 a month, or even $5.99. $7.99 is a little meh for me, but I will at least try it 1 month and let you guys know if it's worth it for sure. But that price point makes it just enough of a discussion to be like, is it really worth it or not? Instead of just signing up for it blindly. But like during the pre-order period, I don't know if it's still going on. That was the $74.99 yearly, and then they said they give you like 3 free months. So I'm assuming so instead of 12, you get like 15 months. I don't know if that makes it a better sale for you guys. I just was unwilling. I thought about going ahead signing up for it for a year, but I was like, I just don't know, sight unseen, if I, without testing it for myself, or some preview of the service, to plop down $75 for a service that might, when it rolls out, I might not like. And then I'm stuck with it for 15 months, potentially. So again, I just wasn't that sold on it just at this point to do that. But some people might be interested in doing that. Like, I'll put all the links like I always do when I post it on the website. You'll see if I have any links. I'll even put in the links for Heath's YouTube channel. I'll just put it there as well, so you don't have to look for it elsewhere on the website. I'll put it in the episode notes on the website. So if you go to comicbooksavant.com, look at the post when this is out, you'll see all the proper links that you need to it there. That's all I have for you guys for this episode of Comic Book Savant Extra. I do want to give a shout out to Ed Moore. I just want to say this. I posted an episode a little while back, and I was talking about the state of comic book, podcasting and like YouTube and all that. And I've always thrown out this stuff about, if you like what I do and you want to help, spread the word, and if you have the ability to contribute through the Patreon, or like I have a PayPal link, like if you just want to do a one-time donation to the show, to do that if it's all possible, because I need all you guys' support to keep the show going and expanding the show. And Ed stepped up like a big dog, and it's like I have mad love for him, just for the fact that, like I said, he was one of the first listeners I ever met, and he's always like my OG listeners that have been with me from day one. Him, Heath, my friend TJ Tunnington, like a lot of those guys have been with me since the very beginning. And anytime I've had like little things like that, I haven't done much of it. And like I said, now to keep the show going and, get new equipment and stuff I need, I kind of have to, like do things like affiliate links and start a Patreon to get you guys support, because I can't do it on my own. I can't do it all on my own, and I'm getting older. I got I have some health things that's going on. So every little bit you guys do helps me so much. And the fact that Ed has always supported me through all the years, and me knowing him through the show, as him just being a fan and him becoming a friend, and everything. Like he went, it totally shocked me. Like I saw, I was like, ooh, I got an email, I got a new Patreon, and it was Ed, and it was like, yo, it's crazy, because I always talk about the Patreon campaign that I have, and it's like I never had like one other friend. My best friend was like the one Patreon I had, and then I got Ed, and it just meant a lot. It means so much that he's always supported me, and the fact that he would even go that extra mile to do that. I wanted to give him a shout out here, and I'll give him a shout out elsewhere as well. And I'm going to be doing more with the Patreon. I've been kind of holding out, because I'm going to go into more detail next, I don't know. By the time you hear this episode, it probably will be August. Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, I'm going to have more information in detail about the whole Patreon, the Patreon campaign that I have. I got a lot of things in the work. Like I said, August is a big month, so you will hear more back from me about all of that. But I just wanted to just show my appreciation and gratitude for him doing that to help the show and to help me. I appreciate it a ton, and much love as always. That's all I have for you guys this week. I will see you next week for another episode of Comic Book Savant. You guys have a good week. Take care.